he was also, he owned this store, a video and gun store, and he was also trading for guns that had been stolen.
Okay.
And I had personal knowledge of that. There was a Johnson County deputy out of Johnson County. An investigator had contacted Washington County and gave me information on some stolen firearms.
Is it Johnson County, Tennessee?
Yes.
All right.
Stolen firearms that were supposed to be in the business, and I located them, but they had been stored in his business in a little hiding area. And so if you went inside the store, behind his counter, he had a little secret place back there where he kept guns that were stolen and so forth, and a little safe where he kept handguns in. And that's where he kept these particular guns that were stolen from Johnson County, Tennessee. And I can't tell you what he thought or how he found out or anything, but those guns all of a sudden moved from that place down to the police department.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that Keith had told the Johnson County deputy that these guns were being held at the police department, and he was going to make charges on them, when in fact he was telling these people that they needed to give him the money that he had spent buying the guns back, or they were going to be charged.
Now, did any of this ever come to light? I mean, was he convicted?
Yeah, I worked 5 months on a case there, and he was charged federally with.
Okay. Did you have any other problems with with the chief? Just personal problems of any kind?
Well, it wasn't really a personal problem. It was just he was breaking the law.
Right. Did you get along with him otherwise?
Yes, I did.
All right. How about the other officer, the sergeant?
Well, Terry Abrams he was buying cars and basically operating a dealership without a license and not paying sales tax on the vehicles when he got them like he was supposed to. And all this was happening right before they terminated me over there, just right in that general time frame. And I actually didn't get enough on him to where I could charge him, but I had DMV involved in it, and I know that he was forced to back pay some sales taxes on cars that he had sold.
Okay. Did he know that you were involved in that?
Yes, he did.
Did he like it?
No, I'm sure he did.
Okay. Did he ever tell you he didn't like it?
No, he never told me that directly.
Okay. Were you ever assaulted as in the performance of your duties in Damascus?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay. Describe that for me. If it was more than once, tell me about more than once.
It's been about 20-some years ago, so I can't remember every detail about it, but I had a guy that tried to stab me on a traffic stop that I made. And he basically assaulted me. We fought all over the parking lot there at Cowboys. And two guys that come in off the street on motorcycles that helped me get him handcuffed. Okay. And we were able to apprehend him from there.
All right. Any other instances that you can recall?
Had one other incident. It comes to mind. Had a traffic stop. Female driver, and she had a passenger, which was a male. I later determined was her boyfriend. I had her back in my car. Was doing field sobriety. We just completed the alpha sensor. I went to step out of the vehicle. When I went to step out, I didn't even see the guy there. He had come out of his car and was standing beside my car when I went to step out. As soon as I got my left leg outside the vehicle, he shut the door on my leg and held me there. Told her to get out, run back up to the car, and she did. And then he runs back around, jumps in with her, and takes off. And I pursue them all the way to their house. And they jump out, run in the house. I run after them. They both get inside the house. I had two deputies to stay there at the house while I went and got warrants here in Avenue.
Okay.
And we picked them both up.
So you got warrants for their arrest?
Yes.
All right. And you entered the house after getting those warrants, correct?
I never actually entered the house, period.
But the people who were there, the deputies that were there with you, are they the ones who
Once I
arrested her?
told the deputies that I had warrants on file for them, and they relayed the information to them, it's my understanding they gave that. They knew we were coming in to get them.
Okay, okay. I want to show you a document. Mark, this is file, please. All right. And this is a document that appears to be a letter that was written by Ron Davis. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Take a moment, read over it, and then I'll ask you some questions about it.
Richard,
All right.
just for housekeeping, you wanted to enter what was marked as Exhibit 4.
I did. Thank you.
I'm finished.
All right.
And for the record, Richard, this came from documents that you received in response to a subpoena to the town of Honaker?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay.
And for the record, this is marked, Bates labeled HON 0007. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
It's a letter of recommendation written by Ronald L. Davis.
And that's the same Ron Davis that you've been testifying about before, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to take a look at the middle section. Now, this second paragraph there. It says, unfortunately, when he finished basic school, he was allowed to work with no supervision. As a result, he made some mistakes which would not have occurred if he had been given the proper supervision. Do you see that?
I do.
Do you know what he's talking about there?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. Did you speak with him at all about your work coming out of the academy, your work as a police officer?
Did I?
Did you talk to him? Did you keep in contact with him while you were a police officer at Damascus?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you ever communicate any mistakes that you made to him?
No.
Okay.
I never told him anything that I mean, I may have told him some of the things that was going on over there,
Mhm.
and maybe some of the things that was happening inside of the department, but
Okay.
I never talked to him about anything I was doing wrong. I know he did tell me that I needed to find another department to work for, a better one.
Okay. All right. Now, you sued the town of Damascus, correct?
That's correct.
Did you get deposed in that lawsuit?
I did.
All right. I think we've been over that. With respect to the resolution of the suit, it's settled? Is that correct?
Yes, it said.
All right. And it was dismissed after it settled? Is that-
I'm not sure what you mean on that.
Well, you agreed to drop your lawsuit in exchange for something. Is that right? I mean, you didn't take it to a jury.
No, we didn't go to a jury. I basically let my attorney handle that, Terry Kilgore.
All right. And did you enter a settlement agreement? Did you sign the settlement agreement document?
That's been a long time ago. I know I had to go to his office and sign something,
Okay.
but I don't know if that's what it was or not.
All right. Do you still have a copy of what you signed?
No.
Okay. All right. With respect to the town of Damascus, well, are you familiar with what are called Form 21s?
Is that the form when somebody leaves or accepts a job for a police department, they have to be filled out to tell what their status is and sent into the DCGS?
There's two of them. There's a Form 21,
And 31.
which is the one that when you get hired, and the Form 31, which is the one that when you separate.
Right.
Do you know what, if anything, the town of Damascus wrote on its Form 31 when it sent it in after you were terminated?
I don't have any idea.
Okay. Okay. Where, from an employment standpoint, where did you go after the town of Damascus?
I was still working at Northwood High School as a custodian
Okay.
at that time.
All right. And you continued that
And I
job?
continued that job. And then I applied for several positions, and I had 2 job offers at the same time, at the same day, for 2 different police departments, and I accepted the one in Appalachia.
Okay. How long did you work at the town of Appalachia?
I worked there in February of 1993 to 1998, and I want to say July.
Okay.
And then the second time I worked there from July 1st of 2000 to March of 2001.
Okay. I meant to ask you this early on, but when did you get married?
August 31st, 1991.
All right. Now, how did you get employed at the town of Appalachia? How did you learn that there was a job? How did you apply? Who did you apply to?
Well, they didn't have a chief at that time. They had a town sergeant, which was Roy Muncie.
Okay.
And Roy Muncie had taught me in the academy.
Spell Roy. Spell Muncie for me.
I think it's Musey.
All right.
And Roy had taught me in the academy, and I knew that he had some positions open. And I also knew the city of Bristol had positions open. I was working with ATF on the case involving the chief in Damascus, and they were helping me look for places to apply to, and that's basically how I knew, or how I found out through them.
Okay. And so you applied to both the city of Bristol and the town of Appalachia?
Right,
All right. Did you get offers from both?
from both places.
All right. Did you decline the offer from the city of Bristol?
Yes, I did.
All right. And why did you choose Bristol, or why did you choose Appalachia over Bristol?
Bristol, Virginia was, at that time, their salary was about $4,000 to $5,000 less than what I was making. Somewhere in that neighborhood. It may not be an exact 5,000, but somewhere within that range, less than what I was making at Smith County Schools as a custodian. And I just wanted to do something part-time.
Okay.
And the town of Appalachia, Roy Muncie, offered me a part-time position.
So did you stay part-time as a police officer for the town of Appalachia from February 1993 through 1998?
I did.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Did you receive any training as part of your employment as an officer for the town of Appalachia?
I did.
What kind of training did you receive?
In-service training.
Tell me what that means. When you-
Every
when
2
you say-
years,
when you say
every 2
in-service.
years, you have to go through a 40-hour week of training, or within that 2-year period, you have to have at least 40 hours of training. Now, the standards has changed some now. I'm not up on that as much as I was before, but they are certain criteria you have to meet now. You have to have certain hours of cultural diversity training now that you wasn't required to have back at that time. You have to have a certain amount of legal hours now. I don't know if you were required to have that back at that time or not. Maybe you were, but I don't have knowledge of that. But
Okay. As part of your in-service training when you were employed by the town of Appalachia, do you recall any specific training with respect to the obstruction of justice statute in Virginia?
no, I don't.
All right. Separate and apart from in-service, did the town of Appalachia provide you any training?
Just no, not on obstruction of justice. No,
Okay. They give you any other training?
just my in-service.
Okay. So, in other words, nobody employed at the town of Appalachia said, all right, Officer Bricky, let's learn this, or let me teach you this, or anything like that?
Nobody.
Okay. Now, why did you leave the town of Appalachia the first time?
They I'm trying to think. It was around about the same time, right after this lawsuit was settled over there. It was somewhere close to that.
Okay.
Um,
With Mr. Bauer?
Right. They had a town election, and after the town election, the council changed. They didn't reappoint the chief.
Because of the lawsuit?
No, I wouldn't say that. He just didn't get reappointed. I don't know what the reason was.
Okay.
They cut most of the part-time positions out. Well, matter of fact, they cut all the part-time positions out, and mine was one of them.
Okay.
We went from about an 8-man police department overnight.
All right. So at that point, was your employment terminated?
It was cut out, yeah.
Okay.
I left when the chief left,
All right. And who was the chief again?
Roy Muncie.
Okay. Do you know where Chief Muncie went?
I don't think he's hadn't done anything, or if he has, I don't have no knowledge of it. In fact, I don't even know where he's at.
All right. Now, where did you go from a police employment perspective after the town of Appalachia?
It's been so long ago, I can't really remember. I may need to look at the list that we provided to you.
Okay.
But I want to say, right off the top of my head, without looking at that, it's going to probably be Pocahontas.
Okay. And let me, as we're sitting here. Okay. Let's do this. All right, did there come a point in time when you were working at the town of Appalachia, that you were also working at the town of Honaker?
Yes.
All right, tell me about that.
Ron Davis had called me and asked me if I could try to help the town of Honaker until they could get a boy through the academy.
Okay.
And I told him I would do my best to help them. He said, well, they need some help. So I went over there and applied, and they hired me. And I worked when I could around my 2 jobs that I had. And right after the boy got out of the academy, I resigned from there.
Okay. And who was your supervisor at the town of Honaker?
They had a chief there, but I can't tell you what his name was on there.
Okay.
I want to say Chief Taylor.
All right. At the town of Honaker, did you receive any training with respect to the Virginia Obstruction of Justice statute?
No.
Okay.
Not other than in-service training, and I don't think they sent me to any schools. I was not there that much.
Okay. Well, and were you also working at the town of Appalachia as a police officer?
Yes.
While you were working at the town of Honaker?
Yes.
And you were also working for Smith County Schools? Is that true?
Yes, I was.
All right. I'm going to show you what I'm going to ask the court reporter to mark this as 6. And I'm going to ask the 2 of you to share. That's all right for that one. Ask you to take a look at page 4. Actually, do you have page 4?
One page too many.
Well, I may not have given you the right page.
No, I don't have page.
There's
4.
page 4. All right. Now, is that a list of your employment positions?
Yes.
All right.
That's a list that I provided to my attorney,
All right.
Cameron Bell.
And looking at your town of Pocahontas reference there, July 1999 through September 1999, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Does that help refresh your recollection as to when you were working for the town of Pocahontas?
That was the dates that I provided to him to the best of my ability and knowledge at that time,
Okay.
with what I could remember.
All right. And what happened in terms of Town of Pocahontas? It says reduction in force.
All right. I'm going to explain this to you. It's kind of hard for me to understand really what happened there as well. I was called up by the chief, well, not the chief, but the mayor. And I was told that it was time for me to part ways with the town.
Okay.
So I asked the mayor why my position was being cut out, and he told me that he was taking my position and adding my time to the other 4 officers or whatever it was there at that time,
Okay.
and that my position was being cut out. This happened right after I made a complaint on another officer that was working there, named
Okay.
James Fennell. They'd been having some problems out with him. I felt like he was violating the law in several different ways. I told him about it. I gave him an opportunity to either do something about it or I was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came in and told them, the very same day that I went to them and told them that, they called me later that day and told me it's time for me to part ways with the town.
Okay.
I filed a grievance against the town over that.
Okay.
I was represented by Hillary Johnson. I believe she was the one representing me. He's either her or Susan Ogilvy.
Okay.
We met with the town attorney at the Tazewell Courthouse to discuss this grievance. And when we met there, I was told that I was not terminated from employment there, that my position was just merely cut out,
Okay.
that I was laid off. And you and I both know that under state law, when your position's cut out or you're laid off, that you can't grieve. There's nothing to grieve there.
So they said you couldn't grieve. All right.
Well, I don't know that they told me that I couldn't grieve. It's just my attorney and I both, we discussed it. There's nothing you can do.
All right. So what happened?
That was the end of it.
All right. Now, did you work for the Town of Pocahontas at any other time?
Yes, I've worked there twice since that period of time.
All right. When did you work there?
I know that I went to work there probably around 2005
Okay.
in the fall of the year, and about a year later,
2007-ish?
2006 or 7.
All right. Now, as part of your grievance with the Town of Appalachia, or Town of Pocahontas, did you reach any kind of resolution other than being told that you were being laid off as opposed to being terminated?
That was it.
Okay.
That was it. And then later on, I find out through this lawsuit here that there's papers showing I was terminated from over there.
Okay.
And I don't know why that is, or I'd like to know who was authorized to do that.
Okay. Well, did you write a letter complaining about the fact that you were being terminated?
Just that grievance that I wrote.
Okay.
I mean, I felt like that there was nothing I could do once they told me I was being laid off.
Okay. All right. Well, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But then you went back to the Town of Appalachia, is that right?
In 2000, yes.
Okay. And what happened there?
There was a female officer, which happened, well, as a council member, which was a female, named Debbie Boughton, that had worked there prior to me coming back. She was hired after I left, and then she had left right before I was hired there in 2000. But she left under some conditions that she felt was grievable with the town.
Okay.
And she filed a grievance with the town. Excuse me, with the town. And in 2001, in March, they contacted me and told me that they were going to cut my position out because they had to put her back to work and they couldn't keep both of us.
Okay.
And I was working part-time at that time.
All right. Now, at the Town of Pocahontas, did you receive any training?
No, I never went to any, they never sent me to any training.
Okay. They didn't do any by themselves, and they didn't send you to any
No.
in-service, is that correct?
No.
All right. When you went back to the Town of Appalachia, did they do any training with you?
None that I recall.
All right. Now, tell me about the employment at the town of Wintergreen.
I was going through a divorce at this time,
Mm-hmm.
and to make a change that I wanted to make anyway, I wanted to go back into law enforcement full-time. So I contacted Wintergreen Police Department, I put in an application, and I was hired in April of 2003, or around about that time.
All right. Let me show you something here. We'll mark this as
7.
7.
Borrow your stapler or something.
Yes.
Would you mind us to staple that exhibit 6 so that
Yes.
Thank you very much. Are we sharing this one?
Oh, you don't need to, I don't think. Actually, yes, you are. Sorry. If you'll hand that back to me, I'll staple that one too. Okay. All right.
Are we done with this one?
For now, yes. If you will, take a look at this document. Tell me when you've had a chance to review it completely.
Okay.
All right. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
Is the handwriting on this document all yours?
Yes, I do.
Did you complete this document on or about
I do.
March 28th, 2003?
I do.
All right. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Is this an application for employment that you completed to be an officer for Wintergreen?
Right. It is.
All right. And do you understand, do you have, as part of your exhibit, page 87 on the very end?
I do.
All right. And do you see there where it says that, third paragraph down, that I hereby certify that all statements and answers set forth in this application are true, and I understand that subsequent to employment, if any such statement and/or answers are found false or that information has been omitted, such false statements or omissions will be just cause for my termination of my employment. Do you see that?
I do.
All right. Did you read that at or around the time that you completed this application?
I do.
All right. Turn with me to the third page, which is WINT 85.
All right.
All right. It says, it lists there as some of your prior work history, employment with Pocahontas. Do you see that?
Right.
And it says 7/2001 through 3/2002.
What now?
Dates employed there at the bottom. Do you see that?
Yeah.
7/2001, which I assume is July 2001 through March of 2002. Do you see that?
I do.
When was that period of employment? Is that correct?
The dates may be off on that.
Okay. Do you know whether you were employed in 2002 or whether you were employed in 1999 or or at other times?
Yes, I do.
Okay. When were you employed from the town of Pocahontas?
Well, without looking at my records from there, I couldn't tell you exactly.
Okay.
It was around about in the 2001, 2002.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you the best of my ability.
All right. Well, it says their reason for leaving was terminated after I received another job offer. Do you see that?
Right, I do.
That's not correct, is it?
Well, it could have been. I
Okay.
mean, it could have been the way I felt at that time.
What do you mean it could have been the way you felt at that time?
I don't remember exactly what happened back during that time.
Okay. Well, can you tell me what the other job offer was that you were referring to in this?
No, not unless it had to do with, I really don't know. Let's see. I don't know.
All right. And if you will look with me on page 4 of Exhibit 6, which is the interrogatory answer there. Okay. The
Page
list.
4?
Page 4, which should be the list of jobs.
Right.
You will agree with me, will you not, that there is no job offer that corresponds, or no job starting that corresponds with March of 2002, correct?
I don't see anything in there.
Okay. And as part of what you listed here, it says nothing about being laid off or having a reduction in force, correct?
What department you talking about?
The Pocahontas down here I'm flipping back to Exhibit 7.
No, it don't.
Okay, you had previously described for me in your testimony circumstances relating to filing a grievance, being told you were terminated, then being told you were not terminated, and instead you were being laid off, and none of that's explained here, correct?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that was important to include?
Maybe it was, I don't know.
Okay, okay.
I mean,
Did
I
anybody?
can tell you that I felt like that my position was cut out intentionally because I made those complaints on James Fennell. And I started a grievance on that. I was told that I had no rights to grieve because they were cutting my position out. And at that time, and I still feel like today, that I was terminated. I mean, I feel that way,
Mhm.
but I was not told that.
Well, and as part of this particular, what you explained here, you didn't explain to them that you were either reduced in force or terminated. What it says here is that you were terminated after I received another job offer,
Well,
correct?
I don't know.
Let me object to the form of the question. We may well be talking about a different period of time in which he was working for Pocahontas. You're pre-assuming that he's talking about 1999 when you wrote 7/2001 to March 2002. So I object on that basis.
Well,
but-
and
if it's incorrect, we'll fix it, but I'll interject that objection. You can answer the question.
okay. Regardless of when you were terminated from Pocahontas, well, strike that. Prior to your wintergreen application, is it correct that you had only worked for Pocahontas one time?
Prior to what now?
Prior to your employment with the town of Wintergreen, am I correct that you had only worked for Pocahontas for one period of time at that point?
To the best I can remember, yes.
Okay. So regardless of whether the dates are right or wrong, you had only been terminated from employment or reduced in force from employment at Pocahontas once
Right.
at the time that you had
Right.
completed this application?
Right.
Okay. And you didn't provide any of the circumstances related to that as part of this application, correct?
Well, when they interviewed me, I may have told them about that. I don't know.
Okay. What it says here was terminated after I received another job offer. Do you see that?
I tell you, I applied for jobs and received job offers and turned them down. And if they didn't, if there was a job that I couldn't work around my full-time job that I had at the school, then I didn't take it.
Okay.
So-
Well, this, and tell me if I'm wrong, will you agree with me that this makes it sound like you left to take another job? Do you see that? Will you agree with me that that's what it appears to create as terms of an understanding?
That was my reason that I put in there for leaving.
Mm-hmm.
As far as making it sound, I mean, I don't know how it would sound that way, but that's my reason I put in there for leaving.
Okay. And as we sit here today, you can't tell me what that job offer was?
No.
All right. And you did not work in a police capacity at or around March 2002, is that correct? Based on your interrogatory answer?
March 2002. In a police capacity?
Yes.
I believe I was.
Okay, where were you working?
Town of Saltville Police Department.
Okay. And were you always working for the town of Saltville at that time?
Do what now?
Well, let me ask you this. When did you first work for the town of Saltville Police Department?
About January of 2000.
All right.
And I just remember that reading it off the application.
All right. And when did that employment cease?
I really can't, I don't know what to say about that other than after I left Saltville and went to work for Wintergreen, I never did work anymore for Saltville Police Department until November of 2006.
All right. Well, let me make sure I got this though. At this time you were working with jail inmates.
That's right.
All right. And in terms of your employment, it was a part-time position.
That's right.
All right. And so when you refer down here to with Pocahontas was terminated after I received another job offer, do you see that?
Right.
That would not have been referring to any employment offer at the town of Saltville, correct?
I don't know if it was or not.
Well, you were already employed there, correct?
Yeah.
So you didn't get any additional offers from the town of Saltville after
No.
2000, correct?
No.
Or between this time frame?
Well, until 2006.
Right, right. All right. Let me ask you.
And to be honest with you, I'd actually forgot about that up until,
What, that employment with Saltville?
yeah.
All right.
Because basically all I did was just help with the inmates. That was a basic, one of those things where you help us, we'll help you type thing that's done to help me keep my in-service training up.
You mean with the town of Saltville?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You want to take lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going off record for a break and tape change.